Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. This is Jenny McGee. I think I do know everyone in here today. So welcome to our Spring Clean and Organize Your Canvas course webinar. I kind of added that and organize in there because some of it is kind of about cleaning and removing things, and then others parts of this will talk about how to organize your course content. If you don't know me, I'm Jenny McGee. I'm an instructional designer in the e-learning division at the college. And if you have a question at any point in time, you can feel free to type it into the chat, or you can raise your hand and I will pause and unmute you so that you can ask your question. And I will be showing some things in Canvas. We'll kind of be spending a lot more of the time in a PowerPoint, but there's a couple things that I will be going to Canvas to show you. And then at the end, if there's anything that I went over that you'd like some more instruction on, I'll be happy to give you a demo of how to do it in Canvas. I just don't want to take time away from people that know how to do it already. So I'll be happy to demonstrate anything that we go over today. So our agenda today. So we're going to start by talking about reflecting on your course or courses and thinking about what types of things you might need to modify or change for upcoming semesters. We'll talk about creating a master shell and how you can do that and the reasons why that's probably a good idea. We'll talk about organizing, cleaning up your course, and then talking about reviewing it afterward. So we're going to start with talking about reflecting on your course. And the best time to do this is ideally really throughout the semester of your course and making notes to yourself or jotting down ideas of what things are working and what aren't, what maybe some ideas of what you might want to change going forward. But it's definitely the sooner the better, because we all know things that we think we won't forget if we wait a month or two over the summer, and then by the fall, it's probably not fresh in our minds anymore, the things that we had wanted to change in the course. So doing it more quickly or as the course is going on. I saw a suggestion the other day where an instructor was saying that she creates a page in a module if she has some things that she wants to work on, or a little reminder to herself to fix something or tweak something. She'll create a page and put it in the module and not publish it so that students can't see it, but she can see it, and it just serves as kind of a running reminder wherever she feels like she needs to make a change or add something or take something out. And then kind of along those lines, this idea came from a conference that we were at last week, the EDGE e-learning conference. And one of the presenters there was saying that she always asks instructors, what were you emailed about most frequently during the course of the semester? So what was the question that kept popping up? What were things that you needed to provide more clarification on? And again, that doesn't mean that these questions were not answered somewhere in the course. It just means, as we know, that students don't always read everything the way they should, and just adding maybe an announcement or a reminder, or maybe rewording things, you can make life easier for yourself also, as well as your students, by cutting down on the number of times you have to answer the same question or questions about the same assignment. You might also consider doing an anonymous survey. And if you're not sure how to do that in classic quizzes, I'll be happy to demonstrate that at the end. But this is another good way to sort of get some honest feedback from students about what they felt worked and what they think you might want to change, or what they wish had been done differently and what they really enjoyed during the course. So again, what assignments and discussions worked and what didn't. And then we're going to be looking more about this, this regular and substantive interaction in another upcoming webinar. But there's guidelines that the Department of Education has put out about this, making sure that you have regular and substantive interaction with your students throughout the course of a semester. So maybe just starting to think about more ways and places that you can put these types of interactions, discussions, maybe office hours on Zoom, those types of things, if you aren't using those already, that you can work them into your course. So I'd like to suggest, and some of you in here I think already do this, but just in case, if you have not considered creating a master shell for yourself to work in, this is something that I recommend. You can create a blank shell for yourself at any time to use, and I'll show you in just a second where that button is in case you're not sure. And the nice thing about this is that it will hold the work that you're working on. Now, when you are assigned to teach a course, you'll see a shell pop up on your dashboard that has your students enrolled in it. That is your official shell. And that's where all your course content needs to end up. But I just had a situation over the weekend where an instructor, 2 adjuncts actually, had started working on their courses a couple weeks ago. The course names changed in Colleague, and so they were deleted and then recreated. And what that caused in Canvas was their courses and course shells in Canvas were gone. Now, I was able to restore them, but we don't want to, first of all, give you the heart attack that you would have while you're waiting to see if we can restore them. And obviously, we don't want to rely on that because it's not always 100% that we can get back things that have been deleted. So, and this can happen, you know, at any time. Courses get canceled, they change, they get reassigned, and then you end up with the shell that you've been working in is no longer there, or it's assigned to someone else. So you can always create a shell for yourself, do all your work in that, and then you have it on your dashboard. When you create it, I recommend keeping it in the default term. So not putting it into the spring 2023 or fall 2023 term, because as we know, once that term's over, that's going to leave your dashboard. So if you just keep it in the default term, it'll stay on your dashboard. Name it something unique that kind of stands out so that you always know when you just by glancing at it that it is your master shell. And then you can always copy that shell into your official shell where your students are. So just quickly, I want to show you, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on things that people already know, but I do get asked fairly frequently by instructors how to create a course shell. So if you're not sure, at any time you can go to your dashboard, and then over on the right-hand side, just click Start a New Course. And you're going to probably only see the Camden County College option for which account the course will be associated with. So you'll put it in that sub-account, and then you'll just call it whatever you would like. And again, I would recommend naming it something that is going to stand out so that you know that it is your master shell and not a shell that was assigned to you. And then when you click Create, it's just going to create this shell for you. Again, I do recommend leaving it in the default term so that it'll always be there on your dashboard unless you choose to remove it. The next thing that I just want to talk about a little bit is your course homepage. So really, you can use pretty much anything in Canvas as your homepage. You can keep your modules as your homepage, and that's perfectly fine. You could create your own page with other links, with a description of the course. Some instructors might have a little bio about themselves. But my recommendation for the homepage is just make sure that it is an efficient use of the homepage. So make sure that it has information on where students should start if it doesn't take them directly to the modules. You can always put links to other places in the course on the course homepage. You could create buttons and have students click on that to get to the modules instead. But if your homepage causes students to still have to click multiple times to get to where the meat of the course is, the course content, you might want to consider maybe using something else as the homepage, either the modules or a homepage that you created that has direct links that will take students to where they need to go. But again, the most important thing is, especially of course at the beginning of a semester, to make sure that you've got that start of class or the important information that will direct them to what they need to do at the beginning of the course. So syllabus cleanup. You can either, as you're probably aware, put your syllabus directly into your course and just put it in as a file, or you can put it into the syllabus tab in Canvas. If you upload an external file, you will have to make those changes outside of Canvas. So if you used a Word document or whatever it was, you'll have to make those changes there. If you're using the syllabus tab, then you can change it directly within Canvas. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but this is, of course, a very important document. And it's also something that I think sometimes gets overlooked if the syllabus hasn't really changed a lot from semester to semester. But sometimes you end up with a semester or a syllabus from a previous semester still in the course that gets copied over, and just making sure that it's the most recent version and that it reflects the current semester is always a good way to make sure that, when we want students to be held accountable for reading the syllabus and understanding it, we also want to make sure that it's the most recent and accurate document. All right, so navigation. So this is not a difficult one, and I'll show you in just a second how to get to the navigation. But in your course, you've got all kinds of different tabs over on the left-hand side. And we recommend putting the most used tabs at the top. So the home tab's always going to be up there. You can use the redirect tool, and that's something that I can show you at the end if anyone is interested. But I created a tab on the left-hand side in my left-hand navigation for this course that just says weekly Zoom meeting, and all it is a link that takes students to their weekly lab hours or Zoom meeting that we would have for the week, just as an example. If you use First Day, if you use a publisher link, I would make sure that those are toward the top, and then making sure that your modules are somewhere close to the top as well. I also recommend hiding any unused tabs. So if you're not sure how to do this, it's not difficult. You would just need to go into your course and click on the course settings, and then you'll see a list of all of the tabs that are in your course. Anything above this line that says drag items here to hide them from students is visible to students and is activated. Anything under this line is going to be disabled and hidden from students. So you can either enable or disable things by just dragging them and dropping them where they need to go, or you can click on the three dots on the right-hand side and you'll see that it'll say enable or disable, and you can move them around that way as well. But the nice thing is, if you do this in your course shell that you create, your master shell, you can copy it over into your official shell, and all of your items will come in the exact order that you put them in your master shell. And it really just makes things a lot more streamlined and easy for students to be able to find their way through your course. If you've been in a webinar that I've done before, I apologize if I sound like a broken record, but I do always recommend that if you are teaching an online course that you use the modules. And again, you could even use the modules as your course homepage. But it really is kind of an organization technique. And that's kind of why I chose this boxes graphic here, because you can put everything that you need in the modules. And it's just best practice for navigation for students to be able to go right to the modules and find everything that they need. You also could put the current module at the top. So rather than having students scroll all the way down as the course unfolds throughout the semester to get to the most recent module, some instructors will move it all the way to the top of the homepage or of the module, so that it's always the first thing that the students see when they either go to the homepage or to the modules. You can also control when the students access the modules and the items in the modules through dates. So you can set dates for your modules at the beginning of the semester, and the modules will not open until the date that you set. You can also set prerequisites. So if you want to make sure that students are not accessing things further down in a module until they've done everything before, you can always set that up as well. So you can be very specific about what you want students to do before they can access the items further down in the modules. So again, I can show you this at the end if you need further instruction on that, but just know that this is something that you can do that is going to require students to have to at least click and look at individual items in the course before they can move on. So first day textbooks, and I just sort of put this in any or this information kind of in any webinar that I do. So if you don't use the first day textbook program in your course, then I apologize. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I always am trying to make sure that instructors know, especially adjuncts, that they have to put directions in their course for first day. So when you're reflecting on your course, if you had a lot of students who had issues at the beginning of the semester getting to their book, now again, we are very well aware that that might not have been anything within your control, because sometimes there's an issue on the publisher side or the bookstore side or the student side that you have no control over. But to try to prevent those issues, having clear directions in your course for your students is the best way to go about it, and placing them prominently in the course where students can see them from the very beginning will help with a lot of the anxiety that they often feel about how am I going to access this textbook that I paid for that is supposed to be online. So if you ever have a book that you want us to check and make sure that you've paired it correctly or that it's working, we can always even go in as a student and make sure that everything is working on the student side as well. So we're always happy if you want to have us check it before the start of the semester. We can always go in and just make sure that everything is working okay. So as part of the spring cleaning, we will want to look at the contents and resources in a course, kind of maybe look over it and see if there's anything in there that is outdated, or maybe you've got new resources that can replace some old ones. I think what happens sometimes, especially when a course has been taught and replicated for several semesters, we're coming up on we're at 4 years now of using Canvas. So you may have 4 years worth of courses and things that came over from Web Study if you were here then. So sometimes you end up with a lot of stuff in your course. And so maybe going over, looking at what resources you still want, maybe things that are out of date or that you have something better to replace it with, taking out the ones that you don't need anymore. And I always liked, if you've got maybe, let's say 13 resources in a module, so you've got some videos and you have a couple of articles, even if the articles and the videos and whatever other resources aren't very long and very time consuming, if a student is looking at their week 2 module and they see 13 different things that they need to click on or view or read, that can be overwhelming. So you might think about consolidating all of your resources for a module to one page, and you can put links to resources, you can put link to assignments, you can put external links in a page, just to kind of help students to find everything they need in one place. We recommend limiting the number of links that you share to the ones that you know students will really benefit from. And if you've got lots of great resources, which you probably have after a time where you don't want to take some of them out of the course, but you can always give students a choice. So you might say for a certain topic, students can choose between a video or an article, and you could provide the link to both and say, you know, choose one of the following to read or view. And that way the links are still in there. If students need a little bit more support or they need different exposure to understanding how a concept works, they can watch the videos that they didn't watch or read the articles, but the ones that get it, they can get that information and then move on to the next thing. Removing old assignments and files. This is another thing that we see sometimes or can cause confusion for instructors and students, where if you've just been replicating your course repeatedly for 4 years and you've been making changes, a lot of times instructors don't like to delete assignments that they've changed or that they're using a different version of. But this can cause a problem because if assignments in your course are published, students can see them. Even if you've got the assignments tab hidden and you don't have those unused assignments in modules, those assignments are still going to pop up in their grades tab, in the syllabus tab, in their to-do list, on their dashboard, in the course homepage, on the calendar possibly. So unfortunately, if it's published, there's lots of places other than the assignments tab or the modules that those assignments can pop up. And it can cause confusion when students are looking and they're seeing, oh my goodness, I have all of these undated assignments that are showing up on my to-do list. So if you've got those assignments, you used them a couple years ago, you don't have to keep replicating them. You don't need to keep them. You can still always get back to them in your previous courses. So best practice, really take them out of your master shell. You still have them in your pass shell if you need them. And same with files. Files are a little bit less problematic because students really aren't going to access those unless they click on the files tab or they click on a link to a file. But just for ease of use for you, even removing old versions of the syllabus or other files that you might have out of the course can just kind of help to keep it clean and declutter it. All right, so the link checker. This is a very helpful tool that I recommend running at the beginning of every semester, and I will show you how to get to it in just a second in case you're not aware. So the link checker will run a check and will look at both internal and external links to make sure that they still work. So this is helpful for websites that you might have a connection to. It'll just double check and make sure that all those links work. But where it's really helpful is for the internal links. So what can happen sometimes is you might create a link within a course to somewhere else inside the course, and that will work just fine. But if you copy that course over and now students click on a link, it's going to be directing them to an old course that they don't have access to. And so then they'll get the broken link message. The link checker will check for both internal and external links and also make sure files are accessible to students. So sometimes when you have a file that you've been using for a few semesters, it's stored in an old course and the new course is trying to link to it, and that may not work if a copy of the file is not linked to the course. So just to try to make sure to avoid all those issues and emails that you might get, within the settings of a course, and actually I ran a link, it takes a couple minutes depending on how many links you have for it to be checked in a course. But if in the course, if you click on settings, and then over on the right-hand side at the bottom, you'll see it says validate links in content. And when you click on it, you'll see start link validation, which I did this morning. So you can see that it found these broken links here. So I would just need to click on these and fix the link or delete the page or whatever needs to be done. So it might take a few minutes to do, but it doesn't take long, and it really helps you to figure out if there's anything in the course that students aren't going to be able to access. Okay, and then when you have your course set up, it's helpful to get an outside view before you make it live to your students. And especially if this is in the master shell that you create, if you decide to do that, then it's not going to be at risk of any FERPA violations because you're not going to have any students in that shell. So I recommend having a couple people look over your course if you can. So maybe a colleague or another instructor will be kind of looking at it from an instructor perspective. But where it's really helpful is if you have, I put a student in quotes because it doesn't necessarily have to be one of your students, but maybe someone that's not as familiar with Canvas or is not as familiar with your course content can look over it and see if they understand what they're supposed to do. If they were just to be plopped into your course like a student would be, would they know where to start in Canvas? Would they know how to access the book? All of those things that we sometimes have issues with. And then, of course, you can always contact us. So we are always happy to look over and make suggestions. If we see anything that looks like it might be a little confusing or unclear, we can always give you some feedback as well. So maybe having a couple people look at it, it's always nice to have another pair of eyes on something to see what things that we may have overlooked. Okay, so at this point, I am going to open it up for any questions. And I also, if there's anything that you would like for me to demonstrate, if you're not sure about the redirect tool or how to choose your homepage, how to set up module dates and prerequisites, or anonymous evaluations, or any questions with first day. And it looks like I think we have all full-time people in here. So you may or may not need that. But if you do have a question, feel free to ask. And if you don't, then, and I do see one, so I'll be happy to show you how to use the redirect tool. But if not, I don't want to take your time if you don't need any demonstrations on this, so you can feel free to go, and thank you so much. Thank you very much, Martine. And yes, I will show you how to use the redirect tool. So the settings of your course, you're going to want to go up and click on apps, and then you can just search for redirect. And it has this blue arrow on it. So this is the redirect tool. And I already have it in this course, so that's why it's saying installed, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to click Add App. And so then all you're going to do is you're going to give it a name. And like over here where I made my Zoom meeting link, you would just name it whatever the website is or whatever the link, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not being very creative today, but I'm just going to call this Zoom meeting again. And then here is where you would put the URL. So I'll get this URL here just to demonstrate. So this is a Zoom meeting. And then you would just paste it right into that URL direct field. And then usually if it's an external link, which most of the time it would be, I usually recommend clicking this force open a new tab. That usually works better. And then we're also going to click this show in course navigation, because that's what is going to put the link in the left-hand navigation. And then we're going to click add app. And then a lot of times you need to refresh before you'll see it, but then it's going to show up down at the bottom of your left-hand navigation menu. And then of course, to move things around, you would just click settings, navigation, and find it. Oh, it actually it did make it visible automatically, but I'm just going to move it up to the top and then click save. So if there's anything else that anyone needs a demo for, feel free to go ahead and type it in the chat, or you can always raise your hand if you'd like to be unmuted. In the meantime, I'm going to put our contact information up here if there's any other questions. And so always feel free to come by, visit us, send us an email. This is our extension here, 4220, so you can always get one of us if you need any assistance with anything. And thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, just reach out and we're always here to help.